In a world scarred by mysterious disasters, a strange substance called originium has changed everything. It grants people incredible powers, but also brings a deadly disease called oripathy. This story follows Rhodes Island, a company that's part rescue team, part mercenary squad, working to find a cure and protect the infected from a world that fears them. Led by a mysterious doctor with amnesia, they fight against hostile forces, political conspiracies, and their own inner struggles. If you enjoy this video, make sure you click the like button as it helps the channel grow a lot faster. Let's jump right into the video now. A lady named Amiya looks over at a guy she calls Doctor as he slowly wakes up. He seems to have been undergoing an operation, and Amiya is quite happy to see him gain his consciousness back. Soon, Doctor passes out again. A little later, he opens his eyes back, and Amiya is glad to see him wake up once again. Thereafter, Amiya discovers that Captain Doberman has encountered a group of militants known as Reunion. Worried for Doctor's safety, Amiya realizes that she needs to keep him away from the hands of Reunion. Later, Amiya and Doctor are escorted through the back room into the basement. There, the Doctor grows concerned as he cannot get in contact with Doberman. Moreover, his situation worsens, prompting Amiya to calm him down. They then continue to make their way further toward the exit. Here, they encounter their first hurdle as they notice the Reunion having guards on almost every exit. Amiya then suggests that they look for Doberman on the floor where they are currently and then search for other parts of the building if they fail to find her. However, their plan fails as Reunion guards find them hiding inside a room. As the guards walk forward to check Amiya and Co., Doberman arrives just in time, knocking the guards out. Later, the group has finally regrouped, but now they need to find a way out of this building. For this, Doberman offers Doctor to lead their extraction mission, until he makes a grand revelation. He doesn't remember anything, but Amiya stays hopeful, mentioning that there might still be some memories inside of Doctor's mind. The team then slowly makes their way to another route, even eliminating a Reunion guard, but they end up walking into a trap and get ambushed. All of a sudden, Captain Ace radios the team, asking them to cover their eyes and ears as he throws a flashbang, leaving the Reunion guards blind. In a scene change, we see glass shrapnel spread everywhere as one of the guards covers up a girl who unfortunately passed away during the crossfire. Thereafter, Doberman reveals that the secret route has been deemed safe and that they will be leaving in 10 minutes. Soon, Ace arrives and is happy to see Doctor alive. As the team waits around to have some rest, Doberman spots a group of Reunion militants coming their way while protesting. Wow. This is already feeling like that one Purge movie.
For real, the vibes I'm getting out of this are literally the same as I got from Purge, the election year, not the other boring ones.
Doberman quickly tells everyone to leave through the back door. As they make their way into the back alley, Amiya sees a mother and child running toward the Reunion militants' way. Having an urge to save them, she quickly tries to approach them but gets stopped by Doberman, who reminds Amiya that she is the leader of Rhodes Island and that she should prioritize what to do. Just then, the Doctor successfully logs in with the PRTS device that he was given earlier. He then proceeds to deploy a couple of drones to spot the enemies, assuring Amiya that the mother and her child are going to be saved. Moreover, Amiya assures everyone that Doctor is more than capable of leading them, even in his current state. Meanwhile, the Reunion militants have surrounded the mother and her child and are ready to execute them, even though the mother pleads for her daughter to be left out of it. Soon, the team arrives, and with Doctor's 4-step plan, they successfully manage to save both the mother and her daughter. But due to the shock, the mother passes out. As soon as she wakes up, she notices that Amiya is infected and thanks her for saving them, but decides to part ways with them. Amiya stays there, helpless, as she can do nothing but hope that the mother and her daughter stay alive. Somewhere else, a ready militant group discovers that Black Road has been spotted as they prepare themselves. On the other hand, Amiya's team makes their way in front of the tunnel, and Ace is sent to check if any threats are lingering around. Outside, Amiya explains to Doctor why the mother decided to part ways. Turns out that most of the people on Rhodes Island are infected with a deadly disease known as oripathy, and there is no cure for it yet. Moreover, the Ursus government has instilled this fear in the minds of the people that those with oripathy should be exterminated, and that's why Reunion militants do what they do. Amiya adds that Doctor is the one who was working on a cure for oripathy before he lost his memories. Soon they are given clearance from Ace that the tunnel is safe and the team continues to walk inside. Amiya then declares Doctor as a member of Rhodes Island. The riots have been gradually increasing day after day, but the Ursus government is taking serious measures to deal with this situation. This is what is being reported on the news, but in reality, the Reunion militants are slaughtering these government soldiers. During one conflict, a leader tries to instill some courage in his men, but they flee fearing for their lives. As he is left alone, a Molotov is thrown at him, leaving him to be burned alive. Meanwhile, Amiya and his team are on their way. Ace discovers the fake news of Ursus government having dealt with the riots. Thereafter, Doctor tries to communicate, mentioning that there is something weird going on with this mist as it keeps on getting thicker. Suddenly, Doctor suggests that they should start circling around. Amiya grows suspicious of her surroundings, but then she is approached by Doberman, who informs her about the current situation. Amiya then notices that Doctor is gone. Not too far from there, a girl named Crownslayer has Doctor by the edge of her blade, threatening him to tell her everything he knows. All of a sudden, a boy arrives, telling Crownslayer to leave his territory. The enemy soldiers then retreat and the mist starts to dissipate, followed by Crownslayer backing off as well. The boy then introduces himself as Mephisto to Amiya's team. Feeling danger, Doberman asks her team to leave and decides to buy some time for them, but they soon realize that they have been ambushed, having nowhere left to run. Mephisto then offers them to give up Doctor and the rest of them can walk free, but Amiya swiftly refuses. Mephisto then orders his men to shred these people into pieces, telling them that they don't really matter in his plans. Ace quickly uses smoke grenades to cause distraction as the others begin to leave with the wounded, but Mephisto uses his hidden snipers to target them one after the other. Soon, a militant is about to attack Doctor, but is knocked back by Neril, the Radiant Knight of Kazimierz. Neril then proceeds to eliminate Mephisto's men one after the other. Seeing that the situation is gripping away, Mephisto orders Faust, a hidden sniper, to blow Neril into pieces, but she manages to deflect the shots fired at her. Talk about making a grand entry.
Neril out here toying with Mephisto's men as if it's a child play. Damn.
Soon they discover that the wounded have been evacuated, prompting Neril and Amiya to start fleeing as well. Along the way, Amiya finds herself on the verge of death, but gets saved by Ace. As the entire team successfully escapes, Neril is the last one standing alone. However, she manages to get out of the place as well. Faust then approaches Mephisto and apologizes for messing up, but he tells them that it's fine and offers the men remaining to use for her protection. The team then made their way to the Azazel Clinic, where the Oripathy patients used to be treated in secret. There, they discuss how these patients had their community destroyed, prompting Amiya to comment how one affected shouldn't trust another infected. All of a sudden, Amiya feels slight pain, leaving Neril to quickly call for a medic. Analyzing her situation, the medic decides to use arts to treat Amiya. Thereafter, Amiya explains to Doctor what arts is and how it helps the infected stay alive. Soon, Ace informs that all the wounded have been treated and suggests that they leave this clinic. The team then makes their way to a building where Doctor's device alerts about a heat source nearby. Neril and her team are sent to inspect the building when suddenly Doctor's device starts going crazy with the alerts. All of a sudden, a huge heat source appears out of the blue as a huge fire blast is released toward Amiya's team. Seeing this, they realize that this is none other than Talulah, the Tyrant of Reunion. Meanwhile, Amiya's team quickly saves themselves by jumping to their sides and finding cover. Just then, another heat blast strikes Neril's building, leaving Amiya shocked. Slowly, Talulah begins making her way toward the fallen Amiya, telling her that she should have joined them. Amiya opens her eyes and sees Neril being engulfed in the flames as Talulah continues to approach her. There, Talulah tells Amiya that this marks the end of her journey. She even explains the way that she wants things to end up, with annihilation. The fight is still in full effect. Amiya is trying her best to hold Talulah back while she continues to overwhelm Rhodes Islanders in every aspect. Although Amiya is about to lose all her strength, she continues to hold her ground, unfazed, and asks her team to leave this place as soon as possible. Soon, Amiya manages to block off Talulah's attack entirely, surprising her. Seeing this as an opportunity, Talulah begins raining fireballs in their entire area, not caring about even her own crew. Amiya quickly raises her hands and uses her magic to provide cover to her team, but soon loses all her energy. Seeing this, Ace decides to be the one to cause distraction and asks everyone else to leave. The team listens this time, and Doberman, Amiya, and Neril, along with others, make their way to safety. After coming to a halt, Amiya questions whether Ace is coming or not, but discovers that he decided to stay behind to buy them some time. Amiya immediately tries to leave, but passes out after losing consciousness. Later, as soon as Amiya wakes up, she asks Doctor whether Ace and his team are alive, but finds that it's quite the opposite, but she hopes that Ace will be fine. Thereafter, Ace radios and tells Doctor that there will come a time when he and Amiya will have to take a stand against this cruel world, so he asks Doctor to take care of Amiya when the time comes. Meanwhile, Ace is holding his ground on the battlefield quite efficiently. Mephisto has arrived and finds it useless that Ace is fighting so hard. At the same time, a girl arrives with Reunion militants and surrounds Amiya and her team, introducing herself as W. When asked, the girl reveals that she is there for one single purpose, to take Doctor, but Amiya refuses once again. W then leaves without giving any fight, mentioning that she got what she came for. Doberman tries to chase her but fails as W has already left. Back on the battlefield, Ace somehow survives and sacrifices one of his arms to give life to one of the soldiers. Ace then tells the soldier to make it worth, while Amiya's plane is seen flying away. Inside the plane, Amiya feels a sudden pain in her chest after suffering so many losses on the battlefield. Along the way, the plane flies over the large crystal shards of originium. Doberman explains that these are what the catastrophes are. Soon, Doctor also discovers the cities in such a way that they can be moved during the catastrophes, but then he questions why their city wasn't moved, leaving Doberman silent. Later, the pilot informs that they will be landing momentarily. As their plane is lifted inside the building, they begin making their way to the main hall. Here, Rhodes Island's other core members are also present, who are happy to see Amiya and Co alive, knowing that the mission turned out to be quite dangerous. Nero then immediately asks for a stretcher to be brought in. Meanwhile, Doctor seems to have passed out as he was pushed beyond his limits during this fiasco. A while later, Doctor wakes up on a stretcher and discovers that he is on the Rhodes Island's ship. The system begins giving Doctor updates and informs that Amiya is currently on the deck. As the system continues to explain to Doctor about his surroundings, he seems concerned since he doesn't know anything about his past or future. Doctor then discovers that Rhodes Island is currently on the move. He is then directed by the system for the rest of his way. So are we going to ignore how we are literally relying on AI more and more now?
Dude, the guy is literally new to this facility. How do you suppose he should know where to go? Like, I knew you were dumb, but this much?
Along the way, Doctor discovers various things such as the heavy weight that Amiya is carrying all by herself. At last, he manages to make his way to the deck, where he finds Amiya taking some fresh air. As he approaches her, Amiya explains that she couldn't sleep. Thereafter, Doctor reveals to Amiya that Ace told him that they will have to take a stand against this world. Moreover, Doctor emphasizes that Ace believed Amiya to be the one to always stay true to the mission. Determined, Doctor even assures Amiya that he is going to remember everything piece by piece and help Amiya succeed in her mission. But Amiya tells him not to push himself too hard. Amiya even reveals that their next mission is going to be in 3 days and asks Doctor to rest up until then. Later, Nero briefs that they have successfully completed their mission of exfiltration of Doctor and believe that Reunion's next target is going to be Lungmen in Yan. Thereafter, Doberman assigns Amiya and Doctor to head to Lungmen and assist Dr. Kal'tsit with the contract that allows Rhodes Island to operate openly inside Lungmen's borders. As for herself and Neural, Doberman reveals that they will be going on another mission. Some children are hiding from what seems to be the voice of a man. There, a grown-up, Misha arrives and assures the girls that they are going to be safe. Misha then sacrifices herself as she comes out of hiding, distracting the enemies to follow her. In the present, Amiya and Doctor are assisted by Liskarm and Franka, who are part of Blacksteel. When Doctor questions, Amiya explains that Blacksteel is an independent organization that sometimes helps Rhodes Island with its mission. Liskarm then reminds Amiya that she doesn't have much time left. Somewhere else, the guards are stopping a man from entering Lungmen, but he continues to resist. Suddenly, Inspector Chen arrives, knocks back the man, and asks him to be taken away. She then turns to Amiya and Ko, who have just arrived there, and tells her that she is late. Liskarm and Frank then decide to take their leave as they have to report to their superiors. Later, Inspector Chen leads Amiya and Doctor to Chief Wei. There, Amiya is surprised to see Dr. Kal'tsit already present. Chief Wei then asks the two to have a seat, and soon the discussion begins. Amiya raises concern to Chief Wei that the policies he has set currently in Lungmen endanger the safety of the people of Rhodes Island, and even points out that the Reunion will find a way to overcome their defenses. But Inspector Chen explains to Amiya that her concerns are unnecessary as they have made every possible arrangement for an unexpected Reunion attack. However, Kal'tsit points out that the Reunion is not what it seems. She emphasizes that they are much more than rioters and that they know how to exploit people. She further explains that Reunion considers Lungmen as the best place for them to gather some materials along with some recruits for their messed up cause. Okay, this is some Leonardo DiCaprio level of sales pitch.
Sadly, they are not there to sell some pencils.
Wei agrees that Kal'tsit is true in what she's saying but refuses to accept the contract as it's asking too much. Thereafter, Amiya speaks up and reveals that they saw Talulah, the tyrant of Reunion. She explains how Reunion was easily able to take down Rhodes Island due to the help of Talulah. Convinced, Wei finally agrees to sign the agreement but mentions that he will have conditions that need to be fulfilled. The first condition is that Rhodes Island will help Lungmen to eliminate and eradicate Reunion's threat. As for the second condition, Wei mentions that it's going to be revealed later. At last, Amiya has managed to get Wei to sign the contract. While leaving the building, she's feeling proud of herself, but Kal'tsit tells her not to let her go down since it is Wei, the cunning that they are talking about. Before leaving the elevator, Kal'tsit turns to Doctor, showing disappointment that he didn't even greet her. However, she shows gladness to see him alive, hoping that their sacrifices will be worth it. Later, Doctor and Amiya are making their way. Doctor quickly turns around as he senses something strange. Meanwhile, the goons have found the children from earlier and are pushing them to reveal Misha's whereabouts. Just then, Doctor arrives along with Amiya, with the matter taking care of the threat and scaring off the goons. Amiya then quickly calls for a medic to assist the children with their wounds. There, she finds out that the children are worried for a woman named Misha who told them they would be unsafe if they had stayed there. Amiya then assures the children that they are going to find Misha. Amiya even discovers that these children are homeless, have no place to sleep, also have their lives in danger constantly. Somewhere else, Chen radios Liskarm and Franka, asking them to bring in the girl named Misha as she is infected and on the run. Soon, Amiya arrives and asks Chen why she is doing this search, but Chen decides not to share this information. Meanwhile, Misha is on the run and finds herself in an enclosed room after running away from a good that she encounters. She is then approached by Liskarm, who finds Misha sitting against a wall. Soon, Amiya and others walk walk in, leading Misha to back off after being scared. Amiya then assures Misha that they are there to save her, but Misha doesn't believe her. Trying to reason, Amiya tries every possible way to convince Misha, but she remains skeptical. At last, Amiya ends up showing her infection marks, giving some sense of security to Misha as she begins to calm down. Amiya then once again asks Misha gently to come with them. This time, Misha finally agrees. At the same time, someone covered with a gas mask stands with Reunion militants atop a building, waiting to make their move on Lungmen. Two lady fighters watch the scene unfold from afar. One of them comments on how the Reunion is already making its move. Somewhere else, Amiya gets a call from Chen, discovering that LGD will be taking care of Misha's safety, and asks her to take Misha into protective custody. Meanwhile, Misha overhears this conversation and realizes that she should have never trusted Amiya in the first place. Amiya tries to explain her part, but Misha stays skeptical, telling Amiya that she should have taken her in if that's what she wanted to do, instead of lying. However, Amiya assures Misha that she is going to ask LGD to let Rhodes Island take care of her safety. Doctor also chimes in, telling Misha to put her trust in Amiya. As they continue making their way, Amiya and Co encounter Exucii, who makes a grand entry. After their reunion, the team gets surrounded by Reunion militants, who have also brought casters this time. But with the help of Amiya and Franca, they manage to eliminate the Reunion militants along with their caster. Thereafter, Exucii sits atop a building, noticing that more militants are coming in. Amiya then suggests that they find a safe place as soon as they can. Suddenly, Exucii recalls a place and decides to go and check if the route is safe. In the meantime, she sends Amiya and her team to someplace else. After making their way, Amiya and Co make their way inside a building. Upon entering one of the rooms, Amiya is surprised to see Texas, an acquaintance there. Texas reveals that she was alerted by Exucii about Amiya's arrival and was sent by her. Hearing this, Amiya realizes that Exucii is not completely thoughtless after all. As they regroup, their peaceful rest does not last very long as they are attacked by the Reunion militants once again, led by the same figure that was seen earlier, covered in the gas mask. The guy reaches his hand to Misha to get her up, but he doesn't seem to be hostile toward Misha at all. Texas then soon comes for Misha's aid, causing the guy in a mask to be distracted, prompting Misha and others to quickly escape. Meanwhile, the militants stand there, asking the guy if he is just going to let them go this easily. In response, the guy reveals that the day has finally come. The group continues to make their way out of the building. They finally make their way to the rooftop, where they come across Exucii. As for their plan to escape, Exucii suggests that they jump to the next building if they don't want to be unalive there.
Someone needs to remind Exucii that not everyone has Tom Cruise level of stunt skills.
Just like you don't have the skills to shut up. Soon, Reunion militants make their way to the rooftop as well. Amiya quickly asks everyone to make the jump and decides to hold back the enemies. As they all escape, Amiya drags Misha with her and successfully makes the jump, just when the masked guy is about to get a grasp on Misha. Making their way into a back alley, Misha suddenly starts feeling exhausted, prompting Amiya to suggest that they take a rest. Later, Misha asks Amiya about Reunion. Amiya explains that they are also infected just like them, but have a different mindset than Rhodes Island. While Reunion believes in eradicating all the non-infected people and creating a place for the infected to live peacefully, Rhodes Island wants both of them to coexist peacefully. Misha then reveals that she came here a week ago and proceeds to show her infection. The infection looks completely overgrown, showing signs of erypathy. Amiya then proceeds to inject some anesthesia into Misha in order to calm her down. Being done with their rest, the team continues to make their forward. Seeing the sunlight, Exucii reveals that right at the end of this alley is their way out. Suddenly, they hear an argument going on between two parties. One of them is of Reunion, who are convincing the non-infected, the other party, to join them. Amiya then decides that they encounter these people, defeat them, and make their way through the slums. Executing her plan, Amiya successfully manages to perfectly go along with the plan. After defeating everyone there, Amiya makes her way to the only man left alive. She tells him to leave this place as it's dangerous, but the man explains to Amiya that they have no other place to go to. Later, Franca and others discuss how Reunion has a greater means to convince people to join their cause, as compared to Amiya, whom no one believes. But Misha approaches Amiya, assuring her that she believes her. Talulah stands on top of a cliff, looking at the picturesque sight of Lungmen. She is then approached by Crownslayer, who has no idea why Talulah is hell-bent on taking on Lungmen, even though she knows that they will have to pay a huge price. Talulah points out a large building, mentioning that it is the symbol of Lungmen. She further clarifies that she wants everything back that belonged to them previously. A while later, Amiya and her team arrive at Chen's along with Misha. Thereafter, Chen takes in Misha, assuring her that LGD is going to take care of her from now on. However, Amiya requests Chen to let Rhodes Island take care of Misha's safety when this is all over, prompting Chen to accept this proposal. With this, Chen leaves with Misha along with her squad. Exucii and Texas then decide to head back and continue their mission of finding out more about Reunion. Amiya and Co are now left alone, wondering what Chen is trying to hide from her about Misha. She then suggests that they make their way back, hoping that they come across Reunion militants. Inside the car, Misha asks Chen if they are taking her in because she is infected. There, Chen reveals to Misha that her father was a renowned scientist of Chernobyl and that Reunion wants their hands on Misha for reasons unknown. Thereafter, Misha realizes that Chen is the dragon lady that the children from the slums referred to. They used to tell Misha how this dragon lady would help them. Misha then requests Chen to keep taking care of those children. Meanwhile, the vans continue to make their way back to Lungmen's headquarters. Everything seems peaceful so far when suddenly the vehicle in front of Chen explodes. Realizing that they are under attack, Chen quickly prepares herself. At the same time, W stands on top of a bridge along with her men from Reunion, waiting to make a move. Meanwhile, Amiya and others find themselves surrounded by men from Reunion being led by the masked guy, Skullshatterer, from before. Back in the city, the fight ensues, and Chen's men are easily taken down by the Reunion. W then joins the battle, getting the better of Chen. She also manages to get her hands on Misha and takes her away. Chen's men soon get up and eliminate the remaining Reunion militants, but it's already too late. Chen then discovers that the special units team is being held back by the Reunion. Back in the slums, Skullshatterer receives news that W was successful in carrying out their mission, and he soon retreats along with his men. Sensing something strange, Amiya makes her way to Chen, where she asks her to tell her everything about Misha. Taking the conversation somewhere private, Chen explains everything about Misha and her father being influential. However, she has no idea how much Misha actually knows and how much she doesn't. Chen then begins walking away, prompting Amiya to question where she is going. Chen explains that she is going to get Misha back, but Amiya asks to tag along with her team, reminding Chen that this is a joint operation. If only this wouldn't get cheesier than this. Ugh. This shit is just cringe.
The cheesy lines in this and Vin Diesel's obsession with family both compete fiercely for the title of cringiest moments, to be honest.
They then take their fight to the streets, eliminating every Reunion guard that they come across. Meanwhile, Misha assists them from atop a building. Chen, unfortunately, finds herself in a situation where she is about to be attacked. But Hoshiguma, one of Lungmen's elites, arrives just in time, blocking off the attack. She then proceeds to eliminate the remaining Reunion militants. After their battle, Amiya questions Chen about Hoshiguma. Chen then proceeds to introduce Amiya to Hoshiguma, and vice versa. Finding that Amiya is Rhodes Island's leader, Hoshiguma thanks Amiya for help earlier. Thereafter, Amiya explains that she has already informed Penguin Logistics to find Misha and that they have already started looking for her. Moreover, Amiya tells Chen that they are going to be working together from now on. Seeing her leadership skills, Hoshiguma loudly points out how she understands why Chen was singing praises of Amiya earlier. This comes off as a surprise for everyone, as this Chen has always acted cold toward Amiya. The team then begins to leave. Doctor then assures Amiya that they are going to find Misha. Memories flood for Misha as she finds herself inside a room after she wakes up. Soon, a doctor named Ivan walks in, happy to see Misha wake up. As he engages in a conversation with Misha, Skullshatterer arrives, telling Ivan to go and join the patrol. Misha then asks Skullshatterer who he is, prompting him to take his mask off. Misha immediately rushes to hug him, referring to him as Alex, but he pushes her away, mentioning that he is not Alex anymore, but rather Skullshatterer now. Meanwhile, Amiya and Co are still dealing with the Reunion militants, but there seem to be too many of them. Back at the facility, Misha encounters Alex regarding his mindset of sacrificing children, but he opposes this, mentioning that the infected were also sacrificed, and believes that an eye for an eye is only natural. Misha continues to oppose his mindset, telling him that what he is doing is wrong, but Alex remains unmoved. After a while, Misha even points out how Rhodes Island has only helped her so far. Hearing their name, Alex grows even more furious, telling Misha that the Rhodes Islanders' way is brutal and that she shouldn't be trusting them. Seeing him act and talk so passionately about Reunion, Misha finally realizes that the person whom she knew as Alex is really gone and that there only remains Skullshatterer now. Outside the facility, Exusi AI and Texas are scouting the place. There, Exusi AI spots Misha and immediately reports back to Amiya and her team. However, the Reunion militants seem to have noticed some danger as they begin to make their way closer to Texas, prompting them to prepare themselves. Meanwhile, Skullshatterer brings Misha outside to teach her how to use a launcher. He proceeds to take the first shot to show Misha how it's actually done. As the shot strikes the target, Misha sees that there was arts used. Skullshatterer then asks Misha to give it a try. Meanwhile, Exusi AI and Texas quite easily manage to eliminate all the Reunion militants coming their way. Coming back to the training grounds, Misha takes her shot and Skullshatterer is excited to see that she has the same powers as him. Suddenly, Ivan comes running in his way, revealing that Rhodes Island has found them and is making their move. Meanwhile, Amiya and her squad stand atop a cliff, realizing that they are about to enter into a major fight, telling Chen and others not to go overboard. Simultaneously, Skullshatterer brings Misha inside the facility, telling her to trust him and not Rhodes Island. Misha is somehow convinced to have faith in Skullshatterer. He then walks out of the room and encounters W, asking for her help to make sure that Misha stays safe. As for himself, Skullshatterer decides to take on the threat by himself, with W offering him her men. Later, the two parties stand face to face with each other, with Skullshatterer firing the first shot. The fight quickly ensues. ensues, but Rhodes Island quickly manages to get the upper hand in the battle. Meanwhile, W watches this from afar along with Misha, telling her that she has got stuff to do. W hands over a communication device to Misha, asking her to give her a call if she needs any help. Back on the battlefield, Chen advises her men not to bunch up in one place. Textbook error from these guys, bunching up in one spot.
Ironic that it's coming from someone who finds it hard to get out of his bed after spending all day doing nothing.
The fight grows even more intense as more and more reunion casters begin to show up. Hoshiguma, Exusi, Texas, Liskarm, Franca, and Chen do particularly well, holding off the enemy, and they even show signs of victory. But soon, W joins the battle and everything starts to go down the cliff. Dr. System suddenly starts giving alerts for a heat source nearby. In no time, Skullshatterer attacks from behind, getting the better of Rhodes Island. Just as he is about to strike Dr., Hoshiguma arrives just in time and blocks the attack, telling Skullshatterer that he is not capable of getting past her shield. The fight escalates as she continues to knock Skullshatterer back, but he eventually ends up being the more cunning one, firing his launcher toward Hoshiguma's legs, knocking her back. Seeing this as an opportunity, Skullshatterer quickly collects himself and begins rushing toward Doctor, but this time he seems to have another plan. He has activated his self-explosion and is planning on taking Doctor's life along with his own. Seeing this, Amiya raises her hand towards Skullshatterer, shocked to see Doctor being on the verge of death. Suddenly, her senses go off, and Amiya ends up accidentally using arts, piercing Skullshatterer with her skills, marking his death. In his last words, Skullshatterer hopes that Misha ends up staying safe. Soon, the reunion militants decide to avenge Skullshatterer's death, prompting Hoshiguma to suggest that they retreat. At the same time, Misha cannot believe that Amiya would do such a thing. Hey guys, I know I'm interrupting the video, but I'm just here to remind you that most of you guys watching this video are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell for more updates in the future. Now let's get straight back into the video. Amiya continues to look at her hands, unable to believe what she has done. Suddenly, a voice calls out her name. Later, Hoshiguma approaches Chen and reports that the reunion hasn't escaped from their stronghold yet. Chen then asks Hoshiguma to keep an eye out and decides to go to Rhodes Island to discover their plans further. But one thing is clear among all this: reunion will never stop until they have their revenge. Meanwhile, Amiya keeps on telling herself that she only killed Skullshatterer to save Doctor's life, but blames herself for going against the same thing that she stood up for, protecting the infected people's lives. Soon, Amiya is called over as something is going on. Turns out that W has arrived as Misha wants to have a heart-to-heart conversation with Amiya. Throwing a flashbang and leaving the comms, W leaves without leaving a trace. Amiya then assures Misha that they're going to come for her and rescue her, but Misha reveals to Amiya that the person she just killed was her baby brother. Misha seems to be having double thoughts as she mentions that she always believed Amiya was different, but now Misha sees that she was wrong for siding with the infected and decides to join Reunion's cause. This revelation leaves Amiya shocked, as she never thought that such a day would come. As soon as the call ends, Amiya is left in turmoil, unable to decide what to do next. Placing her sword against Amiya, Chen reminds her that Misha has now sided with the enemy and that she should be treated as such, reminding her that it's in their best interest they get Misha back as soon as possible. Stating that they leave in 5 minutes, Chen takes her leave. Doctor then approaches Amiya, asking what she has decided to do. In response, Amiya expresses that she wants to talk to Misha, believing that there might be some good left in her still. Meanwhile, W asks Misha to come along with her, but Misha shows frustration, not understanding why everyone is treating her as someone important. W tries to reason with her, but Misha remains steadfast in her approach, mentioning that she is going to make sure that Skullshatterer's legacy lives on. It appears that Misha has decided to take on Alex's mantle. On the other hand, Amiya and her forces make their way back to the stronghold. The LGD forces take up the front lines and begin eliminating every reunion militant that they come across, one after the other. Amiya asks Hoshiguma to make sure that they don't kill any infected, but Hoshiguma decides not to make any guarantees as this is a war. Alright, I will be the one to say it. Amiya's morals are really getting annoying now.
Like, for real, while her enemies are practically out for blood, Amiya is busy trying to make sure that they don't get hurt. The fight continues in full flow, and Amiya's forces, along with LGD, proceed to make an impact. Suddenly, the situation changes after Skullshatterer shows up, giving courage to reunion militants. However, Amiya quickly realizes that this is not the former Skullshatterer, but rather Misha. Meanwhile, Misha tells Ivan to fire the flare as they have planned to evacuate. The force then realizes that the reunion wants to finish them off and go home alive. At the same time, Exusi and Texas notice how the reunion has gone from weak to strong just because of the arrival of Skullshatterer. Somewhere else, Misha fires her launchers toward the battle, but has no strength to keep up. Suddenly, she is approached by Amiya, who tries to reason with her, explaining why she did what she did. But Misha already seems too far gone. The two are then on the verge of being killed by one another, with none of them making any moves as they both hesitate. Chen quickly runs toward Misha, striking her sword and killing her in the process. Thereafter, Chen bursts out on Amiya for hesitating, telling her that she will have to face consequences for her merciful behavior. Chen then realizes that LGD works in a completely different way and has no capacity to have mercy on the infected, whereas Rhodes Island is the exact opposite. So she asks Amiya to remain steadfast on the path that she has chosen. Later, Amiya finds herself in the same tunnel that she entered along with Doctor. She blames herself for everything that has happened so far and believes that she is just a weak leader. However, Doctor explains to Amiya that no one forced him to believe her and that he trusted her all by himself. Doctor even assures Amiya that he is going to keep walking on the same path as her. The two then decide to get up and leave. Rhodes Island personnel are seen wandering around the city in search to eradicate any reunion threat. They soon spot 3 of reunion militants and eliminate them in an instant. Moreover, they hope that Kal'tsit won't be angry at them since they didn't avoid any confrontation. After returning to Rhodes Island's headquarters in Lungmen, Kal'tsit scolds Doctor for not taking care of Amiya, who is visibly shaken and forlorn after Misha's tragic death. During their conversation, Kal'tsit asks for a favor from Doctor, requesting him to inform her if he notices any change in Amiya's rings. Confused, Doctor questions what it means, leaving Kal'tsit to explain that the behavior of the rings determines Amiya's health. After a while, Amiya goes for a walk in the slums to clear her head, where she sees Chen receiving a small teddy bear from a young girl. There, Chen hesitates to receive the doll as the little girl is taught by Misha. There, Amiya, for the first time, sees a guilty expression in Chen's eyes. Coming back to the headquarters, Amiya's path coincides with Doctor, who was worried since she was nowhere to be seen. They then begin taking a walk, where Amiya once again holds herself responsible for Misha's death and for being weak. Moreover, Amiya believes that Chen is very strong and miles better in decision-making compared to her, whereas Amiya believes that she doesn't even know the responsibilities that she is supposed to fulfill. Meanwhile, Rhodes Island dispatches a reconnaissance team led by Meteorite, Jessica, and Frostleaf into an abandoned city not far from Lungmen, which formed in the aftermath of the Chernobog incident. Upon their arrival, they realize that the city had turned into a makeshift base for reunion after its destruction by the catastrophe. Nevertheless, they carry out their mission to search for survivors, explore the city, and uncover new information about Rhodes Island. Along their way, the team notices a sudden drop in temperature. Frostleaf discovers thick frost covering the surrounding buildings and recognizes these as signs of an unfriendly faction, the infamous Yeti Squadron that once wandered around this region. They then soon spot a reunion squad standing by. Right beside them is Mephisto going back and forth with W. Thereafter, Mephisto spots this squadron, deciding to deal with them first. Back at the headquarters, Kal'tsit loses communication with Frostleaf's squadron, prompting her to immediately order Amiya to send every recon team toward the rescue location. Not even 10 minutes into this episode, and Rhodes Island are already getting their butts kicked.
I mean, it's Mephisto, bro. Looks so innocent, yet so terrifying at the same time.
Soon, Amiya, along with others, arrives at the abandoned city along with Chen, who is leading LGD. Seeing that the town in front of them is filled with originium, Amiya and Doctor decide to carry on alone. There, Chen suddenly sees Talulah and runs off after her, separating from the rest of the team, who are attacked by Reunion. Amiya decides to go deeper into the originium-dense zone of the city to find Chen and the recon team. Amiya eventually finds Chen, who denies going after Talulah and turns back to find her squad, while Amiya decides to carry her journey, unwilling to abandon her allies. Amiya and Doctor then discover Frostleaf hiding from Mephisto and his forces in a building. Frostleaf then shows Amiya that the cold spread by the Yetis has not only caused frostbite all over her body, but has also frozen over their communication devices, cutting off contact with Meteorite and Jessica. However, Frostleaf is aware of Jessica's and Meteorite's location. After a while, they make their way to a completely abandoned area, finding Meteorite and Jessica there. Thereafter, Meteorite tells Amiya that she shouldn't have come here, believing that the place is very dangerous. Soon, Mephisto arrives there, along with his men. Meanwhile, Jessica is in complete shock, leaving Amiya Amiya worried for her health. At the same time, Mephisto continues taunting Rhodes Island to come out and sets a building on fire, to everyone's horror. Amiya watches this from behind a wall, prompting Doctor to ask her to close her eyes. But Amiya mentions that she is not a weakling anymore and realizes that she has to face any and all threats head-on. She then proceeds to come out of hiding and faces Mephisto directly. Having all the courage to fulfill her cause, Amiya tells Mephisto that he is going to pay for what he has done. But Mephisto stands confident, believing that Amiya is going to lose once again. Suddenly, the surrounding begins to change drastically when a sudden chill fills the air. Frostleaf quickly comes to Amiya, asking her to retreat, but it is already too late as the Yeti Squadron arrives with their master, FrostNova. With her arrival, FrostNova has completely frozen the building that Mephisto set fire to. Mephisto then explains that this building was being used by the rich, who fled the country when the danger arrived to save themselves, and mentions that he simply passed judgment on them. Shortly after, Mephisto begins to taunt Rhodes Island, leaving Frostleaf angry. However, Amiya stops her just in time, telling her not to be provoked by Mephisto's words. But, he continues, asking Frostleaf if she is just Amiya's puppet since she does everything that he asks her to. Suddenly, FrostNova begins walking toward the battlefield, telling Mephisto that no one likes him and that she has decided to deal with him first. Seeing this as an opportunity, Amiya uses some sort of distraction, leaving Rhodes Island to escape successfully. They make their way into an abandoned building, where Jessica is still suffering from shock. Amiya then assesses her and notices that there is a lot of pain and anger accumulated inside Jessica. She then proceeds to suck Jessica's pain and anger using arts, leaving Doctor surprised and confused. But Amiya asks Doctor not to tell this to Kal'tsit. Moreover, Jessica now seems fine. Soon Meteorite comes forward, telling Jessica that she should live up to the praises that she gets, explaining that Liskarm and Franca would prefer her to stop acting like a scared cat. Outside, Mephisto gives FrostNova the responsibility to find out the hidden Rhodes Island members, reminding her that she is a bunny herself. Inside the house, Rhodes Island discusses how Reunion has managed to get some ferocious people on their side, and believes that Mephisto and W are not included in that list. Frostleaf questions Jessica if she came across W, prompting her to explain that she did when they were split. Soon, Rhodes Island decides that they should find Inspector Chen and regroup with LGD. They then begin making their way through the abandoned streets. At one point, there comes a situation where they have to cross a wide road in one go, or else they would be spotted. They then decide to dash through the entire way, but their plan fails as they quickly get spotted by FrostNova, who has just arrived here. She quickly begins attacking Rhodes Island, leaving them no place to run to. Assessing the situation, Frostleaf realizes that there is no way for all of them to escape unharmed, so she decides to stay behind and asks everyone else to leave. Without wasting any time, FrostNova strikes Frostleaf, leaving her to be frozen to death. Seeing this, Amiya stops, telling Meteorite that there is no way she is going to leave one of her members behind. She then engages in a fight with FrostNova, whereas Meteorite engages with the Yeti Squadron. After deflecting FrostNova's attack, Amiya manages to hurt the Yeti Squadron as well. Seeing the determination in her eyes, Nova realizes that Amiya is a worthy opponent. She then begins singing a lullaby while performing an incarnation. This ends up being difficult for even Amiya to handle, but she still somehow finds a way to turn Nova's attack useless. However, Amiya has not lost all her strength, while Nova prepares for another strike. All of a sudden, Nova's ice shards start getting shattered one after the other.
Talk about plot armor coming into play.
FrostNova has got time to sing lullabies, but can't even bother to check if she actually took out Frostleaf. Like, is that pure luck, or is Nova just straight up absent-minded? Confused, Nova realizes that something is messing with her arts. It turns out to be none other than Frostleaf, who tells Nova that she is not going to let her succeed. Seeing this as an opportunity, Meteorite begins running toward Frostleaf, not caring about her own life and wanting to protect Frostleaf at all costs. Doctor then notices something and asks Jessica to shoot at the wall that he points out. After Jessica's shots, the wall starts releasing originium, which leaves Nova's power to be useless. Rhodes Island then uses this distraction to flee from the area. Meanwhile, FrostNova is approached by her father, Patriot, who tells her not to go too overboard next time. Back at the safe house, Frostleaf finally gains her consciousness, leaving Meteorite and Jessica glad. Thereafter, the two make Frostleaf promise that she is never going to act as a hero and put her life at risk again, to which she agrees. Even though Rhodes Island has miraculously escaped from the Reunion's trap, a new threat emerges. Soon, Amiya receives a transmission call from Chen, telling her that they are going to make their way to the rendezvous point soon. But Chen informs Amiya that although she herself is safe, Reunion has broken through Lungmen's defense line. We then see the city being covered in smoke and destroyed. Chen radios Swire, asking how everything is looking. Swire responds, mentioning that there are no signs of any danger around. However, Chen is being watched by the sniper's scope. Soon, a shell comes flying Chen's way. Even though Swire acts quickly, she fails to protect Chen. Later, Swire wakes Chen up with a splash of water and informs her that she was hit by a Reunion shell. Moreover, Swire tells Chen that she should give up leadership and that she should give her the commanding role. Chen and Swire bicker back and forth for some time until Hoshiguma arrives. Swire immediately turns to Hoshiguma and tells her that Chen's mental state needs to be checked over, but Hoshiguma reveals that Chen has been termed healthy by the medics. Thereafter, Swire leaves the room, prompting Chen to notice her back. When she questions Hoshiguma about it, she reveals that Swire jumped in to save her. Walking out of the room, Chen faces a guy from Rhodes Island who is glad to see Chen wake up. There, he questions Chen why she left Amiya and Co behind in the ruins. In response, Chen explains that it was not her responsibility. Shortly after, Hoshiguma asks Chen the same question and discovers that Chen did it due to Wei's orders. Chen then gets a call from her informant, codename XR02, who tells her that Reunion lured him into a trap at Mukwo Warehouse, and that he is still holding time-sensitive intel. Chen then quickly tells Hoshiguma about it and decides to deploy a squad for a rescue operation. During their journey, Hoshiguma shows disappointment toward Chen for not telling her about Fall being her informant, someone who Hoshiguma sees as a brother. Reaching the building, Hoshiguma is allowed by Chen to carry out this mission all alone. Hoshiguma enters the warehouse and eliminates all the Reunion militants in little to no time. She then informs Chen that it's safe for her to come inside. There, they find Fall mortally wounded. Even though it is too late to save his life, the LGD successfully retrieves the information he had on him, which points them towards the location of Reunion's next target, as Fall gives up the coordinates. Following those coordinates, Chen and Hoshiguma find themselves in front of a mansion that belonged to Chen's biological father. Furious, Chen angrily breaks the front door lock and heads inside. Along the way, Hoshiguma asks Chen if she hates her father. In response, Chen mentions that man was not worthy of being called a father. Although Chen seems to have no particular attachment to the mansion, being inside its walls clearly leaves her reminiscing about her past. Chen comes across a cracked picture frame holding a photograph of herself and Talulah as children, hugging. Soon, Chen walks out and tells Hoshiguma that she didn't find anything. Moreover, she tells Hoshiguma that she had to protect Fall, which is why she made him an informant, because his fate was doomed as an infected. Walking out of the mansion gate, the LGD forces arrive ready for Chen's order. Thereafter, Chen decides to take back their headquarters. Later, the LGD forces continued their advance by capturing Purging Plaza, a nearby shopping mall, currently occupied by Reunion. Taking a detour, Hoshiguma and Chen stumble across some mannequins with fancy clothes. Hoshiguma tells Chen that she should take some off, wear these clothes, and go on a holiday with her friends.
I would never joke about such a thing in front of Chen. I mean, just look at her. She looks terrifying.
Your lazy ass needs to get out of that bed to be in that situation in the first place. Thereafter, the two spot an enemy caster, prompting Hoshiguma to quickly take action. However, the balance of this situation shifts when the caster presses a button from the detonator. Suddenly, an explosion occurs, causing the floor beneath Chen to collapse, but she is saved by Hoshiguma, who holds the debris so it doesn't crush both of them. In no time, the two are completely surrounded by Reunion militants. Seeing that the situation will only get worse from here, Hoshiguma insists she can still fight. She urges Chen to leave her behind to fend off Reunion and focus on recapturing LGD headquarters, even though she is badly injured. But Chen refuses to abandon her, stating that she always defended her, and now it's time for her to repay the favor. Chen admits that she has changed. After abandoning Amiya's squad, Chen and Hoshiguma then fight off Reunion together. After the battle, Chen leaves Hoshiguma to be treated by the medics and begins making her way outside the building. There, Swire calls Chen, discussing all the damage that Purging Plaza had sustained during the battle and blaming her for it. Chen promises to treat her to a meal as penance. Thereafter, Swire advises her not to throw her life away for the sake of the mission, revealing a more vulnerable side to their relationship. Later that night, Chen readies her men, preparing to take back the LGD building. Mephisto stands on top of a building watching LGD forces gather in one place. There, Faust arrives, telling Mephisto that Purging Plaza has been taken over by LGD. Moreover, he tells Mephisto not to underestimate the head of Lungmen. However, Mephisto reveals that everything is going accordingly and that he seems quite happy with the progress. Shortly after, Chen and her team finally enter the headquarters. However, the officers immediately feel that there is something suspicious about the operation. The reunion forces posted at headquarters seem barely prepared for a fight, and many floors are completely empty. They also receive intel that Reunion's temporary command center is on the rooftop. Chen senses the obvious trap, but takes the bait anyway, realizing that there is no other way. When she arrives at the rooftop, it does turn out to be a trap set by Mephisto. Now, the only people facing each other are Mephisto and Chen, but the Reunion militants are there as a barrier. Chen quickly eliminates them without much effort. Thereafter, she decides to make a move on Mephisto, but gets shot by a sniper. Chen quickly appreciates Mephisto for thinking of a good plan. As the vision expands, we see the sniper being Faust, who is almost invisible to the naked eye. Chen decides not to be feared and continues making her way toward Mephisto. Just then, Mephisto decides to reveal his true powers. He proceeds to resurrect the dead Reunion soldiers using his arts. The resurrected soldiers start attacking again, now transformed from corpses into hulking monstrosities puppeteered by Mephisto and invulnerable to physical damage. Knowing that the LGD is about to be overwhelmed, Chen attempts to unsheath Qi Xiao, the dragon-slaying sword imbued with originium arts. However, she is interrupted mid-cast and loses control over Qi Xiao. The blast injures her and some of the Reunion guards. Mephisto taunts Chen, reminding her that forcefully activating the originium arts inside the blade will only injure her further. Not only that, the usage of the sword might also end Chen's life.
I doubt that the thought of getting killed affects Chen at all.
No, we haven't even gotten to her backstory yet. Let's hope she doesn't get killed off here. Mephisto then tries to convince her to join Reunion, but Chen refuses to abandon her duties to Lungmen. Just then, reinforcements from Rhodes Island arrive on the battlefield via helicopter. It is none other than Amiya who has brought in someone with her. She then tells Doctor to take command of the helicopter and jumps on the battlefield along with one other fighter. This fighter is Blaze, a special personnel from Rhodes Island. Swire then calls Chen, revealing that she had been coordinating with Rhodes Island behind her back. Now joined by Amiya and the elite op Blaze, the tides of battle finally turn to the LGD side. Mephisto is outraged to see that Amiya is still alive and demands to know where FrostNova is. Mephisto then proceeds to press Reunion to continue attacking, but knowing that they are overpowered, Faust convinces him to retreat. Faust then triggers the bomb, causing a huge explosion. The two use this as a distraction and flee the building. At the same time, Amiya and Co escape as well. Later, Amiya receives a phone call from Chief Wei, who appreciates her for their victory. During this phone call, Blaze confronts Wei for using Rhodes Island as bait in Chernobog to lure Reunion out. Wei ends the conversation by reiterating that the relationship between Lungmen and Rhodes Island is still a political partnership, believing that there is no enmity between them. After a while, Wei calls Swire and orders her squad to purge all the remaining Reunion forces out of Lungmen in a single day. Meanwhile, Wei anxiously awaits a message from Ursus. He tells Fumizuki of his premonition that the attacks on Lungmen and Chernobog are the start of something bigger, pointing out a deeper conspiracy, but Fumizuki reminds him that it's what he said last time. In a past memory, we see Mephisto's younger form, known as Ino, along with Faust's younger form, known as Sasha. There, Sasha asks Ino what his ideals are. In response, Ino explains that he wants to sing. He then proceeds to leave the room, but gets stopped by Sasha once again. This time, Sasha tells Ino to let him know if his father beats him again, assuring him that he will hurt the one who injures Ino even a slight bit. Ino then asks Sasha what his ideals are, but then the scene changes to the present time. Mephisto takes out his anger on the objects around for his loss, while Faust silently watches him. After repelling Reunion's occupation of the Lungmen Guard Department's headquarters, Rhodes Island and the LGD perform a joint operation to clear the city of its Reunion presence once and for all. On Rhode Island's side, Blaze, Amiya, Doctor, and Greythroat, a new member, are deployed. Blaze then decides to carry on further and eliminate any Reunion militants that she encounters. Worried for her safety, Amiya asks Doctor to follow Blaze and accompany her. On the other hand, Swire excitingly words alongside Chen. Blaze then encounters an LGD soldier who is now infected and scared for his life. Blaze then allows him to run away before he is taken into custody by those who he works for. Thereafter, Blaze sees Doctor behind her, leaving him to explain that he was asked by Amiya to follow her. Somewhere else, Amiya informs Greythroat that they are going to their designated defense positions now. Simultaneously, Doctor and Blaze are on their way. There, Doctor asks Blaze if there is any bad blood between her and Greythroat, but Blaze hints at otherwise. They soon hear a sound from some distance, prompting Blaze to lift Doctor up and proceeds to leap off of buildings to get there quicker. Meanwhile, Mephisto uses his originium arts to turn some of his men into zombie-like herds, who begin attacking anyone around them, including their fellow Reunion comrades. He plans to use the horde of undead to decimate both Rhodes Island and the LGD and allow him to escape Lungmen, but Faust is disgusted by his actions and leaves him. While Chen and Swire are leading their squads in the slums, the former hears a strange sound while investigating. She then tells LGD soldiers to stay there and begin making her way to the rooftop of a building. There, she encounters a band of mysterious assassins covered with black raincoats, telling Chen not to come in their way. Moreover, they seem to be aware of who Chen is. Chen then radios Swire, questioning if she knows anything about these assassins. Swire then assures Chen that she is going to find out. On the other hand, Greythroat encounters Faust, but doesn't shoot him and gives him a chance to explain himself. She is aware that Faust is one of the good ones from Reunion, but Faust tells her that she either kills him here or later he will kill her. After saying that, Faust instantly disappears right in front of Greythroat's eyes. Meanwhile, Swire contacts the leader of Black Raincoats, Lullaby. These Black Raincoats don't seem to discriminate killing anyone, including civilians and children. Lin then advises Swire to stay away from the sewers, striking fear. Meanwhile, Faust makes it back to Mephisto, as the only way they can defeat the LGD is if they combine their forces. He tells Mephisto not to use the same arts again, but Mephisto believes the only thing that matters is their survival. However, Faust has some other plans in his mind. He then asks his men to restrain Mephisto and proceeds to go about his plan. Rhodes Island and the LGD prepare to enter the slums to engage Reunion. Meanwhile, Faust orders Reunion to push further into the slums, as they are the only way out of Lungmen. He also plans to die fighting so everyone else can get out. Meanwhile, they are being chased by the special infected, but Faust finds an opportunity to escape through a bridge, knocking it down after getting through, making some time for them to execute their plan. Faust then tells Mephisto that he wishes him a happy life and makes it clear that this is his ideal. Despite his protests, Faust remains unmoved and with tears in his eyes, tells Mephisto to make it happen, saying that Mephisto drops some sort of device behind him and continues making his run. He then finds himself in the middle of the road, surrounded by LGD soldiers prepared to fire their bows. The arrows are soon released, and Mephisto can only stand and watch himself get killed with a smile on his face.
The writers of this anime really woke up one day and decided to drop one of the most emotional episodes.
Can't wait for Mephisto's revenge arc now. At some distance, Rhodes Island witnessed fireworks going on in the slums. They instantly realized that they must be mourning and also understand that Reunion must have looked up to this person who passed away. Soon, Doctor and Blaze return as well. Later, Greythroat goes to the site where Faust died and finds his broken bow. She questions Amiya why the Reunion even fights. Moreover, she points out how it's funny that they always try to protect the infected, but they somehow end up witnessing the death of another infected. Hearing such words, Blaze reminds Greythroat that these thoughts of hers are what caused tension before. After saying this, Blaze furiously leaves along with Greythroat. Doctor then tells Amiya that Greythroat is not wrong in her stance. Later, Chen receives intel that FrostNova's Yeti squad has joined with Reunion's forces through a passageway under the slums. She then calls Nine, the senior in the LGD, and asks her to be careful. However, Nine makes a grand revelation, telling Chen that she has suddenly decided to switch sides and join Reunion, believing that Lungmen doesn't care about the infected and the LGD can't protect them. As the phone call ends, Chen finds out that Swire has been overhearing the conversation. However, Swire tells Chen that anyone could have heard her since she was speaking very loud. Moreover, she reports to Chen about the Black Cloaks and them being led by Lullaby, but the two realize that she couldn't be carrying out this mission on her own and are sure that she is acting on someone's order. Simultaneously, we are shown Wei is engaged in a strange phone call with some unknown person. In a scene change, we see Crownslayer and a Reunion militant. The latter wants to go home, but W asks him not to give up. As she continues to convince the militant, she suddenly senses some danger. All of a sudden, smoke fills out the entire place, prompting Crownslayer to acquire a steady stance. Thereafter, Kal'tsit arrives along with her accomplice, Red, who subdues Crownslayer and pins her down. To teach her a lesson, Kal'tsit orders Red to let Crownslayer and decides to fight her on her own. Thereafter, Kal'tsit summons her monster companion and showcases her true power to Crownslayer.
So you are telling me that this doctor has been hiding that OP of hers for so long?
Sorry, did you say something? I'm still recovering from the absolute chill Kal'tsit just threw down. After defeating her and pinning her against a wall, Kal'tsit refers to Crownslayer by her real name, Lyudmila, asking her to leave this place and stop acting as a puppet for Talulah. Somewhere else, Chen decides that they should drag out the Black Cloaks to the forefront. Later, Greythroat enters a broken house to save a young girl, but gets ambushed by Reunion militants and overpowered. Rhodes Island arrives just in time, with Blaze eliminating all the militants. As they wait for Greythroat to wake up, Amiya explains that Greythroat's father was an Oripathy scientist, and that she wanted to continue her parents' cause. Amiya even mentions that it's just a bit difficult for Greythroat to express her real feelings. As she wakes up, Greythroat coldly replies and readies herself for their next fight. Seeing this, Blaze recalls Ace and Scout telling her the same as Amiya about Greythroat. Shortly after, Amiya receives a call from Chen, discovering that they are going to wipe out Reunion once and for all, and asks Amiya to leave the slums, so as not to get hurt in the crossfire. Somewhere else, Nine hears about FrostNova being in a bad condition and that the Yetis were wiped out. Nine then uses arts to grow a flower to leave a sign of respect for LGD and Rhodes Island. Amiya is left surprised after hearing from Chen that they won't be rendezvoused. The next moment, Amiya and her squad find themselves standing in the middle of a street facing Nova, telling them that this time she won't let them leave. All of a sudden, Nesty attacks Nova from atop, but she acts just in time to block the attack. Later, a Yeti militant asks Rhodes Island that they want a permanent ceasefire. Amiya agrees and asks the militants to come to them. At first, they plan on taking this militant into custody as soon as he comes down, but the militant explains that their leader is also a bunny just like Amiya, and believes that they should be fighting against Reunion together. Moreover, the militant explains that the reason Nova was angry is because she heard about Rhodes Islanders killing Skullshatterer, but he understands that it was necessary for them since they had their lives at risk. Meanwhile, Nova and Doctor find themselves buried under the rubble. Nova stays alerted regarding Doctor, but the Doctor explains that they have no reason to hurt each other anymore. However, Nova believes that if help arrives, one of them will be killed, but the Doctor thinks otherwise. Now they just need to find a way out, but realize that they might get buried here if they make a mistake. Shortly after, the two decide not to hurt each other, and Nova asks Doctor to get some candies out of her pocket. She also advises Doctor not to touch her skin. After getting fed with the candy, Nova calms down a bit and asks Doctor to have one as well. Immediately, Doctor expresses how spicy this candy is, leading Nova to laugh hysterically, mentioning that she loves to play this prank on people. Way to chill the mood, given that they are literally in the middle of a war.
I'd say Nova's jokes are not as icy as she is, no pun intended.
Their conversation then shifts to Nova's past. She explains that the Yetis trust her so much because they consider her as their big sister, even though there might be an age gap between them. Turns out that they were all raised together in a labor camp. But one day, it got attacked and they were supposed to die there, but survived after Ursa's heroes arrived just in time. From that day on, the man known as Patriot became Nova's father. Meanwhile, Amiya senses two people beneath the ground and realizes that it must be Nova and Doctor. Shortly after, she ends up rescuing them successfully. Later, Nova tells Rhodes Island that they are going to be enemies the next time when they encounter each other in the Lungmen. On the other hand, Chen and Swire engage in a phone call with Lin. There, Swire tries to reason with her, telling her that she has caught their bluff and that she knows that they aren't working for the betterment of Lungmen. However, Lin asks where that unit is, hinting that she is aware that they are planning to drag Black Cloaks to the forefront. Somewhere else, in a back alley, Nova and the Yetis are making their move. Suddenly, Nova starts feeling unrest but assures her men that she is fine. Suddenly, Mephisto arrives there, revealing that Faust decided to stay behind to buy some time. Thereafter, one of the Yetis informs Nova about some movement, believing that it's those guys in black cloaks. Nova then uses her arts to block off their paths, but passes out due to its extensive use. The Yetis realize that they cannot make Nova use her arts anymore. Moreover, Mephisto is not in a state to fight as well, so the Yetis asks Reunion to to take Nova away and decide to stay back and fight with the Black Cloaks. Amiya then encounters Chen and tells her what they are doing is not right at all, but Chen reminds Amiya about their agreement. Soon, the action begins to happen, and the Yetis are killed off one after the other due to the collaboration of Black Cloak and LGD forces. Blaze sees the Yeti she connected with before, getting killed, and felt remorse for his death, but there is not much she can do about it. One of the Imperial censors of the Black Cloaks arrives, but gets sent off by Chen, who assures that her mission is now completed. Turning around, Chen thanks Rhodes Island for their help, but they all soon discover that Nova is nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, she is being transported to somewhere else by Reunion.
Meanwhile, FrostNova wakes up and realizes that the Yetis are dead. Thereafter, she decides to stay behind in the warehouse, realizing that the Rhodes Island commander must have found their location by now. She further instructs Reunion forces to go without her, instructing them to take Mephisto with them. Rhodes Island later finds her at the same spot, her body paralyzed. However, in one last stand, FrostNova pierces her skin with originium to once again use her arts. FrostNova is powerful enough to overpower the combined forces of Amiya, Blaze, and Greythroat at once. Rhodes Islanders try to reason with her, telling her that there is no reason for them to fight, but Nova thinks otherwise. At one point, Blaze even knocks back Nova, reminding her that she promised to join Rhodes Island once she is defeated. However, Nova stands back up, sucking all the energy around her and proceeding to drop the temperature below 40 degrees. Nova then reveals that have no idea who they are in a fight with right now. Just then, Blaze realizes that she was wrong. At first, they used to think that the Yetis were the ones who were boosting Nova's powers, but it's quite the opposite. As it turns out, Nova had previously given parts of her power to the Yetis, but now that they are all dead, she has gotten 100% of her powers back. Thereafter, Nova points out how everyone that she held dear has passed away. The fight then continues, and FrostNova continues to show no signs of backing off. She proceeds to fight, even after listening to reasons, but remains unmoved. Knowing that this is not going anywhere, Nova starts singing, making it difficult for Rhodes Islanders to stand their ground. At one point, Nova even manages to hurt Amiya and shows the upper hand in this fight.
Nova is out here showing who the big boss is,
while Amiya out here showing her moralities. But this leads to Blaze growing furious as she angrily begins charging toward Nova, eventually leaving her exhausted. With blood now pouring out of her mouth, Nova realizes that she doesn't have much time left. Thereafter, the two, Nova and Amiya, go back and forth about why their stance is the right one. Nova just wanted a peaceful land for his brothers to live in, but she couldn't find it. On the other hand, Amiya only wants to help the infected by standing up to the bullies. Knowing that Amiya's cause is not that bad, Nova offers to join Rhodes Island if they manage to block off her next move. Hearing this, both the parties get ready. Wasting no time, FrostNova begins singing powerfully, but this time, the power is immensely overwhelming, leaving Rhodes Island finding it difficult to even stand straight. Amiya and Blaze throw many strikes toward FrostNova, but they all prove to be useless as her singing grows more powerful. However, they soon realize that they have no other way but to wait for Nova to run out of energy. Following that plan, Amiya, Blaze, and others use all their energy to overcome the freezing effect. At last, Nova loses her breath and falls to the ground. She then appreciates Rhodes Island for showing great signs of courage and asks them to leave her behind and carry on their mission. Hesitant, Doctor decides to take care of Nova and asks Amiya and her team to carry on their way. As they leave, Nova tells Doctor that there is no point in saving her, since she has ended so many innocent lives. However, Doctor still believes in redemption and helps Nova up. She then asks Doctor to touch her hand directly. As he does so, Nova is quite happy to feel the warmth coming off of Doctor's hand. Thereafter, Nova tells Doctor to let Amiya know that she is a part of Rhodes Island now. After saying that, Nova loses her breath. Meanwhile, Swire and Chen are checking the underground basement, where Swire keeps Chen from going inside. Simultaneously, Amiya enters Chief Wei's office with a proposal. She tells him that they have to end their agreement. Although Wei tells otherwise, mentioning that their collaboration has been mutually beneficial, Amiya points out how she is aware that Wei has kept everyone in the dark. At the same time, Chen finds something in the basement. Outside, Greythroat explains to Blaze about her ideology. There, the two sort out their indifferences. Meanwhile, Doctor brings the unconscious FrostNova inside the facility. The guards try to stop him from entering, but Doctor asks them to move, stating that one of their people is dead. Back at Wei's office, Chen barges in, telling Wei that she is aware of everything he has done so far. Chen even holds Wei responsible for everything that happened in the slums and Lungmen City. However, Wei asks Chen not to trust her memories, as much as they can often make you believe something that didn't happen. Suddenly, Kal'tsit barges in as well, prompting Wei to tell her that she didn't allow her to come in. Soon, Fumizuki arrives, revealing that she allowed Kal'tsit to come in. Kal'tsit then explains that Chernobog's city core has broken off and is heading straight toward Lungmen. Moreover, she believes that a collision is unavoidable if this doesn't stop. Furthermore, Kal'tsit reveals that the city is constantly broadcasting an identification code and that it's claiming that the city belongs to Ursus. And that was the ending. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys in the next one.
See you next time.